I started life as a part of the problem. I was brought up to be a social failure. I was commissioned at a very early age to be a social failure. My mother and father did not pay the rent at the age that I was 5. So we were on the streets. We were living in a slummy part of London, Notting Hill. We were then condemned to years and years of violence and aggression, anti-Semitism, anti-blackism, anti-whatever you call it. And I was socially conditioned to be a right pain in the arse. I was very fortunate at the age of 21 to fall into the hands of a revolutionary party called the Workers' Revolutionary Party. And out of that, they got rid of my anti-Semitism and all my other antis and made me realize that actually I was a perfect product of what one might call a declining imperialist Britain. And for many, many years, I campaigned on behalf of revolutionary politics, tried to destroy capitalism, came to the conclusion that I couldn't, and sod it, I must do something else. I was asked by the School of Social Entrepreneurs to define what is an entrepreneur. And I said an entrepreneur is somebody who sometimes gets it right. A lot of people don't buy into that. A lot of people don't understand that. A few years ago, I was slagged off by a member of my staff who had left on the Friday, and on the Monday had got about 3 pages in The Guardian. The Guardian didn't like me at the time because a few months before I'd taken them to court and won a shed load of money off them for libel, and you know that if you piss on your chips with regard to the press, they will come back to haunt you. So anyway, The Guardian gave this guy 3 pages. Well, there was a cover, and then there was page 1 and page 2 of the G thing. And what I really remember most of all about the criticisms that were levelled at me was that John Bird would call all the staff together and would introduce them to his latest madcap idea. What do you expect from an entrepreneur? My madcap idea that he remembered was something called the bag issue. And my idea was that you would have a bag that you would carry around with you, and you would read the bag. It would be like a magazine. See what I mean, the bag issue? So you'd read the bag, and it might be Ode to a Nightingale or whatever. It might be a collection of poems. It might be that week's news and all sorts of things like that. And you fold this bag and you put it in your pocket, and you go to the supermarket, and you would say, I'm not taking one of your bags. I've got my own bag. And you would load up this bag, and this bag would be full of all sorts of wonderful things that you could buy. I would only recommend at the time that you went to Waitrose. And so in a sense, you would be recycling. Of course, the bag issue didn't go anywhere, as about 100 of other products that I came up. But the thing was that this person couldn't understand that an entrepreneur is like a dog with an itchy rear. They're always coming up with ideas. They're always running here. They're always running there. They are not very healthy and happy people. Otherwise, they would settle down and get a real job. My first remark to anybody who wants to start a business, and I agree with Richard here. It is Richard, isn't it? Sorry. I think we met, haven't we? Yeah. We have met. He was younger. I agree with Richard. Define your marketplace. But don't over-define your marketplace. Find out who you want to hit. Find out who are the people you want to sell for. When I designed the big issue, I was writing the big issue for me, my wife at the time, God bless her, my children, my mates, and everybody else. So it was full of all sorts of ways of changing the world. If you look at the first issue of the big issue, it's full of exhortations to bring about all sorts of social change. And that actually was the lodestone on which we built the big issue. Gradually we then changed it and we developed it, and we're going through another development. But the thing was, we have always tried to remember that there's a triangle in life, a permanent triangle. We call it the ABV. The A is the audience. Those are the people who we want to buy the paper, who want to read the paper. The B is the business, and the V are the vendors, or whatever you like to call them, the consumers or whatever, I don't know what. But anyway, you've got an ABV. The audience buys the paper and influences the life of the vendors. So the vendors themselves change. Why do they change? Because suddenly people realize, hang on, homeless people are always associated with dirtiness. They're always associated with bad manners. They're always associated with begging. They're always associated with sleeping in doorways. And here we have a workforce of people who once were a part of the problem, who are now a part of the solution, because they're helping themselves transitionalize out of homelessness. So the audience changed the vendors changed the audience changed the business, because it kept saying to us, well, we want more of this. The business changed the vendors, and then the vendors changed the business, and vice versa, and it goes on like that. The really important thing to me about being an entrepreneur is to always be aware of the fact that there are hundreds and hundreds of answers out there. But one of the things that we really lack is coordination. We lack the fact that there is not a great number of us to come together. There is not a political party for entrepreneurial people. There's not a political party for people who want to bring about social change in this country. There's not a political party for people who want to bring about changes in the way governments work, in all the questions around ethics, around environmentalism and all that. And therefore, what we need is something else. So my latest project, take a triangle. Sorry, I've come here to plug my product. That's the only reason I'm here. And you're all joining before you leave. Take the triangle, the ABV. Turn the triangle into a wedge, and you have what's called the wedge card. The wedge card was launched on the 1st of December at the Lambs Conduit Streets Winter Fair. And it's a very simple device. You buy the card for £20. Half of the money is spent in the local community, i.e. in Lambs Conduit, it's been the Holborn Community Centre. So money goes from you to the local community, and the other money is spent on trying to get offers for you so that the card then gives you reductions. So it's a community loyalty discount card. It's about supporting the small businesses. It's about getting you behind the small businesses so that you are enticed into the shops of the small business. But at the same time, you are supporting the local projects like the Holborn Community Centre. It is about participatory democracy. My problem, my big problem, is that, and I say this in the nicest sense, is we can do all sorts of wonderful things. We can invent businesses. We can fly you all around the world. We can give you a wonderful drink, and you buy it. But there has to be some more participation, because the world and its wife is running away from the real problem, which is to do with the environment, it's to do with the breakdown of community, it's to do with all these sorts of things. And we, as a public, have to find a way of actually standing up and become participatory democrats, rather than simply representational democrats, where we elect somebody who then does everything for us. As far as I'm concerned, the movement in and around ethical trading is a part of that participatory democracy. And it'll only work if we all get involved.